Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs are going to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide in the SEC championship game this weekend. Kirby met with the assembled media to talk about the game. Let's get into it.
Guys, I first want to thank the SEC for such a great, tremendous event. It's been an awesome opportunity for us to participate in this game many times. It's not something that we take lightly. It's one of the best venues and most viewed games in every entire football season. And I think the caliber of the two teams this year is indicative of what it is every year. You've got two great programs that both played really tough in-conference schedules, and will battle for an SEC championship in Atlanta on Saturday. So our guys are excited. We're honored to be there, and got tremendous respect for Alabama, Coach DeBoer, the job he's done, the gauntlet his players went through in terms of the games they had to play, and them earning their right to play as well.
Yeah, Kirby, just signing day yesterday. What did you think of the class that you guys were able to bring in, and how that helped meet your needs?
Yeah, really excited about that group. It was kind of anticlimactic like it normally is nowadays on signing day, and our prep was focused on Alabama. So it's a tough day organizationally because you got a lot going on at the same time. But very, very pleased, excited about the guys we've got. I always look at it as you look in reverse and you look back 3 years from now, and you really value that class then. And nowadays, more of these kids have to be ready to play. I look at our practice yesterday, our practice the day before, and the number of true freshmen that are in the two deep is probably higher than it's ever been in my 10 years here, and I got a feeling that's here to stay. So that's saying that those guys we signed yesterday would be factors in our depth chart next year, and they got to be ready to play faster because you just don't have as many people.
Now, I love that. There's always a lot of hullabaloo around signing day. Who signs where, who flips, who doesn't sign. A lot of times it's more focused on who doesn't choose to go to your school. But what Kirby said right there is the absolute truth, that in today's college football, coaching and recruiting and roster management are more important than they have ever been. And every team is going to be younger year over year moving forward. So you have to get guys that are ready to contribute right now. What does that require? Hard work, dedication, effort, putting in the work even when it gets really hard, buying into the process. And one thing we know about Kirby Smart at the University of Georgia is that their process is proven. And that if you go in and commit to the hard work and do what you need to do, you're competing against the best players in the country every day at practice, you are going to improve and you are going to get better. We've seen it in the 2025 season. So when he says the guys that we just signed are going to be contributors for us next year, he absolutely means it. History bears it out. And if you don't want to come and do that work, then you don't need to be at the University of Georgia. So you go wherever you need to go. But if you are about it, and you are about competing for championships the way Georgia is this weekend, then you know where you need to be. If you want to be at Georgia and Georgia makes you an offer, Georgia wants you to be there, then follow it through. Good things will come. The track record is there. Proof of concept.
And then 2 of the last 3 years, you've had a quarterback prospect flip away and ultimately sign with another school right before signing day. How has that impacted maybe how you guys have gone about trying to recruit quarterbacks and secure those long-term relationships where they follow through with them?
I don't think it changes at all. It's part of the process. I mean, that's not completely abnormal for kids to change their mind. We've known for both kids a long time that there's a possibility of that. I mean, it's a commitment. It's not a signee. So you know that you have plans in place. We talked all along multiple years. It's not like it's surprising. I don't think that changes how you recruit. I think you still recruit the same way you recruit. You just make sure you have a plan in place if it happens.
Well, of course, Kirby Smart has a plan. Kirby Smart has a plan for everything. And again, history bears that out. So yeah, I mean, if you don't want to be here, that's fine. They have a plan for someone who does. And Georgia has shown that they're going to be just fine either way.
Thanks, Kirby.
Thank you, Connor. If you have a question, please use the raise hand function in the Zoom, and we will get to your question. Once we call on you, we will then unmute your line to ask your question. Our next question will come from Jeremy Johnson of On3. Jeremy?
Hey, Coach. Obviously, in this game last year, Gunner was forced into play, and he got some reps during the year. But you kind of look at Ryan Puglisi and Ryan Montgomery. Can you kind of tell me where they are? If they were forced into something similar, and how have they kind of leaned on Gunner? Having the experience that he had last year.
Yeah, I don't know that they've leaned on Gunner. Gunner's doing his own prep, right? Gunner does a great job preparing for each game, and he prepared last year so that when his number was called, he was ready to go perform. Those guys are their own individual selves. They sit in the same room with Gunner, and they listen and they learn. They take notes. We get not a lot of action, but we get enough action with them that should they have to go in, they got to be prepared. Quarterback coaches do a tremendous job of putting those guys on the board, asking them questions. They get reps. They don't get as many reps as Gunner, and I think that would be the case all across the country. Is how well do those guys prepare? Because you never know, when your number is going to get called.
Yeah, it's incumbent on the individual. This is not, certainly not the NFL. It's certainly not Gunner's job to hold their hand and get them ready. It's incumbent on each of those individuals to hold themselves to task and be ready when their number's called. We've heard Kirby say it time and again. Are you willing to work while you wait? And if you are in the spot of a number 2 quarterback, that is obviously heightened. You have to be ready to go, because it's not just how are you going to perform, and that's going to dictate your future. If you're the backup quarterback, then everything is riding on how you perform if you have to go into the game. So these young men seem to be about that business. They seem to be about their work, and they seem to be going about it the right way. Nothing makes up for game experience. So there will be a learning curve, but you can be as ready as possible to step in should your number be called.
Just a quick follow-up. Obviously, you kind of mentioned some of those guys, those young guys that are in here too deep. A lot of them have had to play, and they're about a year into your program. What do you kind of see out of that group of young players, the freshmen, and then the young true sophomores that are going into their junior year? What are you kind of looking at when you're looking at them developmentally, especially at this point of the year where you're about to play for an SEC championship and potentially go into a playoff run? Those guys are have an opportunity to be a big part of that. So what are you looking for developmentally from those guys?
Growth. I think it's really important. We played a clip from a former coach who talked about guys not being prepared and maybe not preparing the right way when their numbers were called. I would never want to feel that way. I don't want any regret. And you learn through real experiences. And these kids, whether they're freshmen or sophomores, they're in a long season. They're in a longer season than they've ever been in. They've been in physical practices more than they ever have been. They've had a higher expectation put on them in terms of meetings and volume of knowledge than they've ever been in. So, we've challenged them, and now it's time to reap some of the rewards from guys having to step up and play, from different guys being injured, different guys being out. You just don't know when your number is going to be called. So that's why we try so hard to two-spot things, two-spot walks, grow kids, challenge kids, put kids in and put them in an environment where they got to respond, because we just don't know who that might be.
And what did I just say? Right? I mean, you have to be willing to work while you wait. And it is different at Georgia. And that's not just me saying that, because I've heard other people say it. Back during fall camp, you hear guys come on all the various podcasts that are associated with the University of Georgia, those especially close to the team, and they will say, man, I was talking to my buddy who plays here or there, and they were asking me, what's it like at Georgia? And then I tell them the truth, and then they say, man, it ain't nothing like that here. That's their words, no one else's. So it's true that it is different at Georgia. The way they go about their work is different. I've been on the sidelines at practice. I've been on the field all year. I'm telling you, it's different. Now, Is that always going to be enough to win the game? No. But as you can see through the track record that Kirby's put together at Georgia, more often than not, that work that they do when nobody's looking is why they are so successful on game days. So do the work while you wait. Be ready when your number's called, because you're not out there alone. You've got the help of your teammates because they've all made the same commitment. You pull together, you go get the job done.
Kirby, I know Drew Bobo is listed as out for Saturday. Do you expect he will miss the rest of the season, and what exactly is he dealing with injury-wise?
Mark, I'd be speculating because I still don't know, determined what we're going to do with the injury he has. And until we determine that, I would rather not comment on it.
And
Fair
how
enough.
do you feel about your center position heading into this game? What have you seen this week as those guys prepare to fill in?
Yeah, we've got a lot of guys that have worked at that position throughout the year. Drew has been dealing with an injury the past 3 to 4 weeks prior to this week, and so we had the good fortune of getting a lot of reps for Cortez and Malachi and Donnie Glover, and all those guys have been getting reps at center for probably 3 to 4 weeks. They all got reps during camp. Malachi and Cortez have gotten some invaluable reps down with us in terms of scout reps, which I love. They get to go against really big physical people and practice against us, and they've kind of rotated down and back each week and gotten better. So I'm excited to see them have an opportunity to play.
Oh, I love that, because what did we just say? Kirby Smart and his staff, they have a plan. So yeah, it sucks that Drew can't go, like in a big way, but there's clearly a plan in place. These young men are at the University of Georgia because they're good football players. I think Cortez is going to be a beast eventually when he takes over that role full time. Right now, it looks like we're going to start with Malachi Tolliver.
Hey, Coach, I'll stick on the center question. Have you decided on the starter yet for the game Saturday?
Again, that's not something that we're prepared to disclose right now. I think those guys are working, and they're getting better. And good thing is we got 3 of them that are very capable.
How effective has Chauncey Bowens looked in practice this week?
Chauncey's been like he has the last couple of weeks, so he's been doing good.
So that's big. I mean, Chelsea didn't get in the game last week, and Kirby said it was because they went with the guys that had had the best week at practice. Okay, fair enough. But prior to that, we know that Chauncey had been beat up just a little bit. So I'm hopeful that, based on what Kirby just said, Chauncey's going to be full go, ready to rock and roll on Saturday, because they're going to need him. Nate's been doing great. He needs some help. And McCray has been doing fine too, but having Chauncey back in there is a weapon that has been effective for Georgia all year, and they will need everything they have to unload on Saturday against Alabama.
Next question will come from Jordan Hill of Dawgs 247.
Yeah, Kirby, just wanted your thoughts on what Ja'Cory has done down the backstretch of this season, stepping in for Kyron and just the job he's done.
Yeah, Ja'Cory is a veteran guy in our program defense, 4 years. He's been a really good special teams player. He's played a lot of snaps. He's played dime, nickel, safety, free safety, strong safety. He's one of the guys that's played 4 spots for us and done a tremendous job and continues to grow and get better.
And that's a position that I've been a little harsh on this year, that number 2 safety, because they've had a couple of different bodies rolling through there. Zion Branch is another. Obviously, you're talking about Ja'Cory Thomas here. So I've said that that's Georgia's weak spot on the back end. And I think the numbers and things bear that out over the course of the season. But that doesn't mean that Ja'Cory Thomas hasn't played hard. He hasn't given his all for the University of Georgia. And just like everybody else, he continues to improve. So this last week, I actually felt really confident about what I saw from Zion Branch in that position. But tonight, he popped up on the availability report as questionable. So he may not be able to go. So it's important that guys like Ja'Cory Thomas, who are about the team and about the work, are showing up every day and doing what they can do to help Georgia.
Yeah, Coach, just want to ask about Bo Walker, too. I understand he might have been in a car accident this week. Can you give any update on him?
Yeah, Bo's not going to be with us. He was required to have a surgery, so he'll be out for this game.
And just one more thing, Doug, when you look at Ellis Robinson and DeMello Jones, how have both of those guys progressed since the last game against Alabama?
I think those guys have progressed well since they arrived. Again, they both hit the weight room hard last year, got bigger, stronger, understanding our system, playing well, learning from Dalen. They continue to grow and get better. Dante's done a great job with them. Those guys are good football players. They love football. They're instinctive. They challenge people. They get to go cover our wideouts every day in practice, which I think is a huge benefit for them in their growth.
So we got, crystallization on the Bo Walker situation. We saw him on the injury report. Kirby's like, yes, he had to have surgery. He will not be here. So that is what it is. And as far as Ellis and DeMello, those two young men, Kirby didn't want to pin it on the Alabama game as when they took over. He kept it very generic. But the thing he said is very true there. They've gotten their bodies in better position. They've continued to learn and grow. And we have seen them improve every week since that first half against Alabama. Just notice what they did in the second half, and it's just gotten better since then. So I think this is a weekend for those players to be able to make some plays, to be able to take advantage of some opportunities that I hope are going to come their way. They both are really good with the ball in the air. DeMello is fantastic with the ball in his hands. So if it ends up that they get their hands on it in this game and can do something with it after they get the turnover, that will be an exciting time. I, for one, hope it happens.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, Zayden Walker's played a lot more over the second half of the season. What have you kind of seen out of him? And he seems good. It seems like he can do a lot of things for your defense. What's kind of the expectation for him over the next half of this season? Having playing a bigger role.
He's grown up a lot. He's still developing in terms of his growth in our defense. He came from a high school that he was required to play a lot of different positions, and he didn't get always to play inside linebacker. So it's a position that he's growing at. He's got a lot to learn. He's growing. He gets reps on the scout team each day. He works really hard. He's going to be a good football player. He's been a good rusher. He's been a good third down guy for us. He's been a good special teams player for us, and he's gaining more confidence. And I think as he gains more confidence, he'll be able to contribute even more.
Man, I love me some Zayden Walker, and I'm super excited to see this kid grow. I told you at the beginning of the year that you're going to see him in the back year. He was a candidate of one of those young players that might be able to help Georgia. And much like Jalen Walker, he's found his home in the third down packages, maybe playing in space, definitely getting after the quarterback. And I think we're going to see that again on Saturday. That growth will continue, and the more he's on the field, football players play football better. And that's what I expect to see from Zayden Walker. Man, I'm excited. The future is very bright for him.
Thank you, Coach.
If you have a question, please hit the raise hand, and we will call on you. Coach, while we wait, just comment on what advantage, if at all, it is for players coming to the SEC championship game, having that experience. How is it different coming back a second time or a third time?
In terms of the experience for the players?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think playing in the venue is a big experience key. I think having been in there with even the freshmen last week, but the guys that played last year, I always think experience is a weapon. So is talent, so is preparedness. And all those things will be a factor in the game. But our kids have played in this game quite a bit, and they enjoy it. And it's really a credit, a reward to a season that was extremely tough and a lot of really tough games in the fourth quarter for both teams. So this is what it is. It's a chance to win a championship.
Familiarity breeds confidence, especially in those younger players. And the fact that they had an opportunity to get in there last week and play in the Dome with this looming ahead of them, that's invaluable for those dudes that have never been in there. I know I heard one of the Alabama players this week say in the interviews leading up to the game that he's never played indoors in his life, like ever. And that is going to be something that he's going to have to adjust to in real time. So that's just another one of those little things in the game that Georgia players have had that opportunity, whereas this young man for Alabama hasn't done it at all. And he's a young man who plays a lot for them on the defensive side of the ball. Is that going to determine how he plays in the game? I don't think so. But it's just one more level of how comfortable you can be getting ready so you can play fast and free on Saturday.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now go to Anthony Dasher, UGA Sports. Anthony?
Yeah, Coach, historically for you, what are the advantages, I guess, and disadvantages of playing a team a second time in the championship game as opposed to, maybe a team you've seen for the first time?
I don't know. There's no real advantages and there's no real disadvantages. Both teams have the same tape. Both teams have a common thread that we played each other. So it's not a huge advantage one way or the other. I don't feel like. I think it's sometimes coaches overdo it or overthink it, and I just think it boils down to who blocks, who tackles, who prepares the best. Who mentally prepares the best, who handles it the best. I mean, I think we're both dealing with different injuries, and so there'll be a lot of next man up mentality in this game, and a lot of times that plays a role in it. Maybe it wasn't the same matchup the last time; it's a different matchup this time, and where that highlights or helps or changes for each team, who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah, you mentioned both teams dealing with injuries. With the league going to 9 conference games, are you worried that may become even a bigger factor in future conference games?
It could, certainly could, but it's speculation. I think any coach will tell you that the 9-game season is going to be more wear and tear in terms of our conference for sure. And if rosters are tightening, which they are tightening, teams are going to have fewer guys next year than they had this year due to guys aging out and DSAs removing themselves and the portal stuff, that it's going to become harder and harder to have the depth you need. And maybe whoever does that best is at a competitive advantage as well.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, we've heard Kirby talk about this a lot, but I think it's just proving itself out that that's what it's going to be moving forward. The fact that the Dogs are playing Alabama for the second time in the year, I mean, I totally can see what Kirby's saying there. The tape is the tape. Performance on the field is what matters. It's not like, and especially in this situation, because now they've played like 8 games since they played Alabama last time. So Alabama's not the same team that they played in September, and Georgia is not the same team that faced Alabama. So this game, even more so than maybe some others where you have quick turnarounds at the end of a year, this one, the rematch thing, it could easily be overblown. So you just got to line up, you got a game plan, you have to produce on the field on Saturday, and that team, the team that doesn't beat themselves, is the team that's going to win the game.
All right, we now have a question from Katie Wyndham from Bama Central. Katie?
Yeah, hey, Coach. Sticking on the injury front, LT Overton was ruled out for Alabama last night. In that first matchup, he had 6 tackles, including that 4th down stop. Just kind of how does it change going against the Alabama defense without him available for them?
Well, first off, I don't know anything about what's going on with him in terms of injury, but I have a lot of respect for him. We recruited him out of high school. He's a Georgia kid. His dad was there at Bama while I was there, and I've known him for a long time and have tremendous respect for him as a player and competitor. So I wish him nothing but the best with everything he's got going on, and his family that way as well. For us, it'll just be next man up. That's what you do is coaches. You try to prepare for who's going to be there. Again, it's not something that we know how they're going to change things because he's not there. They got other good players. They've got depth just like we do.
Yeah, and obviously both teams are hurt in this game, and there's going to be a lot of that across the field. And I'm sure that Kalen DeBoer and Alabama has a plan in place, just like Georgia has a plan in place for their injury situation. So you still got to show up and you got to play. But starters are starters for a reason. I say that alongside next man up. It's not like it's an equal exchange always, especially not in today's roster limited college football.
Thank you, Coach. Again, if you have a question, use the raise hand function. We'll go back to Jeremy Johnson of On 3. Jeremy?
Hey, Coach. I just was wondering how, if there was any update on how Talon Taylor was doing in practice, and if there was any update on how Ethan Barbour is progressing from his injury. I know he has slowly been, he's not on crutches and all that anymore. So just any update on his status?
No, he's just able to do more. He's able to, run. He's off the scooter. He's moving around. He did some indie, really light work in terms of getting back out there with the tight ends. But it's still a slow process for him. It was a significant injury. He's been in great spirits. I'm really proud of the way that kid has handled things. He's been attentive. He's such a good energy guy and a great team guy. The way he's around the team and around walkthroughs and into things, and like wants to get out there and do it. Very eager to do it and get back and learn. So I appreciate the way Ethan has approached that. In terms of talent, he's done a good job. He did a good job last week in terms of working. He's trying to get back in the flow of things. That's important, that you get back in the flow of things. It's not like you can just click your heels together and magically be back. He's got to do that from a stamina standpoint. He has to do that from a contact standpoint and from a confidence standpoint. So that's something that he's working towards, and he's done a great job of pushing and helping in practice, and hopefully going to be ready to do some things.
Those are good updates for those two young, talented players.
Coach, we have a question from the chat. What would your message to the selection committee be regarding the overall strength of schedule and the depth of the SEC when considering the CFP field?
You know, I don't feel like I'm prepared. I wouldn't say qualified to speak on that, because, you know, when they changed what they talked about last year and it was more of a strength of schedule metric to be measured, I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know that we've seen that measure come out in their rankings. I focus so hard on what we control, and what we control is, you know, how we play, how we prepare. It makes for a very, very tough job and a tough selection, and it seems like we keep going through this each year, and we maybe have another year of it this year.
I love that. Kirby's like, I'm not qualified, and I don't know if I'm prepared to make a statement on that. And then he goes out and makes a statement verifying everything that all of us can see with our eyes. He's like, they don't appear to be validating that whole strength of schedule thing right now. It's not what we see, because look at what you're doing. That's awesome. He said it, and I'm not going to say it, but here it is. And then he went right in on them. So I think that's pretty cool.
Thank you, Coach. If you have a question, use the raise hand function. We do have another one from the chat. Coach, you've participated in this game multiple times. What does playing in this game mean to you, and what has it meant to you in your career?
Well, I think it's been a great honor to play in it first. I mean, to win SEC championships are one of the hardest things to do. I mean, you look how elusive they've been, how few of programs have been able to win them across the SEC. That's a credit to getting to the game. It's even a bigger credit to win the game, and it's usually an indicator of a quality of team you have if you advance to the playoffs and get to play, or whether that, you know, back in the 14 model or this model, in terms of the talent level of our conference, the number of teams that have gotten in.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now go to Colin Gay of the Tuscaloosa News. Colin.
Hey, Kirby. There was obviously comments made by Vanderbilt coach Clark Lee about them potentially wanting to play another game to showcase their worth to the College Football Playoff Committee. I'm wondering, is that something that, you know, you could see down the line of other teams wanting to play an extra game just to showcase their skills before a final ranking, or do you see that potentially happening more?
Not sure. Probably depends on what seat you sit in, right? So everybody on the outside looking in wants another game. And people would argue you had plenty of games. Everybody on the inside looking out say, I'm good. I'll stay right where I'm at. I'm okay. I played well enough. So, you know, I think it's been talked about. I think it's, you know, one of those things that was tossed around early on last year about the possibility of playing within your conference or cross-conference to have some play-in games, which is nothing more than an extension of the playoffs, and you would play in from that perspective. But we'll still debate about who's in those play-in games and who would have the right to play in those games to advance and move on. But there was speculation about that early on, and you know, I think there's coaches that think that's a better model because it gives their fan base something to hope for and wish for outside of the 12. Everybody's trying to get a piece of the 12, and it's very elusive. It's very hard. So, you know, if it gives more people an opportunity, that's good for some. And there'll be those that probably would have made it in another year that might lose, that wish they didn't have that opportunity.
Perfect. Thanks.
No, I love it. And he just, he said it so well. Said it so well. I mean, because when Georgia in the past, in the 4-game model, didn't get in, you heard Kirby Smart, he said it from the podium after an SEC championship game one year. They don't want to see us. You know, they don't want to play us. And that's the thing. It all depends on where you are and how you feel about it. But it's I personally come down on the side of, you've got 12 games. That's the season. Go play the season. How you perform over the course of the season will dictate whether or not you make your way into a 12-team playoff, which, to my point of view, is already too big. They're going to extend it. It's going to get bigger, probably sooner rather than later. I don't personally want that, but I'm not making the rules. Television is, because everybody wants to watch it. And as long as people are watching it, they're going to keep generating content for it.
Coach, we'll now go to Joe Gaither. Joe, go ahead.
Coach, how would you assess the mental aspect of this game with both programs, considering the history that's happened between both programs in this game?
I don't think these kids pay much attention to any kind of history because, I mean, their roster is almost as new as ours. I mean, I think both of us are averaging 34% new guys. You know, we did play them last year in a classic game. We played them this year in a classic game, and then, you know, multiple years in this game. But I think it's pretty clear that each and every game has a history and life of its own, and you play the game that season with the guys you have and the mindset of the guys you have. So I don't think these other games will have any effect on this one.
I love it. I've been saying that all week. Anything that's happened in the past or anything that might happen in the future has zero bearing on what's going to happen on Saturday. And he was asked directly about these teams and the players on them, and he just said it. These guys don't care. They don't care. All they know is what has happened to them. And if they have played in this game and won it or not won it, they might have an opinion about it. But everybody else outside of it, it's an antiquated way of thinking. It's a I don't have skin in the game way of thinking. So if you're running around talking about things that happened 10, 11 years ago, then you have to understand just how irrelevant those points are. Like, they literally mean nothing. And it's nice if you just want to jab an opposing fan base, fine. But understand that it's literally just noise in the wind. It doesn't matter. And that's what Kirby's talking about here.
Okay, we'll have time for a couple more questions. We'll start with Anthony Dasher. Anthony?
All right, Coach, ask you about Nate Frazier. Of course, he had the fumble the first time in the Alabama game, but since then he's kind of like he's become a kind of different kind of player, just the way he's kind of carried himself and going about things. What have you seen from him since that contest?
Well, I've seen it before that contest. I mean, I don't think you measure someone by one play or one mishap. I certainly don't measure him by that. He runs with great toughness, competitive fibers. I mean, he just competes. I love the way the guy practices every day and how much it means to him. And I mean, he's had good games and good plays since then, and he's had some that he wishes he had back. So does every good player. But I don't measure it from that moment to this moment. I look at it as a total season, and what a tremendous job Nate's done.
Thanks.
I love that answer because it's the absolute truth. And again, it takes us right back to that whole, are you in the game? Do you have skin in the game? Or are you just watching from the sidelines? Because there are people in my comments, there are people on my pages who immediately, if I talk about Nate Frazier or if I talk about Cash Jones or Talon Taylor or any of those people who had key plays in that Alabama game, the only thing they want to talk about is the fact that Taylor dropped the ball or that Cash didn't get the first down or that Nate put the ball on the ground. That's it. As if they've never made a mistake in their life. As if they've never had something not work out the way they wanted it to work out. Right? That's a position that you can hold as a fan. That's your right. I would never. Couldn't be me. And that's what Kirby's talking about here. Because if you've played the game and if you've been around the game and the game actually means something to you, then you understand that it's not one play. It's never one play. It's who you are as a player and that things happen in a game, right? So I appreciate Kirby's answer there. I think Not that Nate needed him to stand up for him or anything, but that's exactly what he did right there. He just went to bat and said, no, that's who that kid is all the time. That's who he is all the time. And just like everybody else, he has a right to get better every time out, and he's still working hard, and that's what he's doing. So I love that answer, actually.
Hey, we will take one final question from Max Cohen from WAAY TV. Max?
Which, with what's on the line this week, how much does this feel like a playoff game?
Well, every game's a playoff game because for us, every game to this point would have probably taken, us out of the SEC championship game or out of the playoffs. So, your back's against the wall every week in this conference. It's not new to either team. So it's the next one, and you can't make it bigger than it is. It's a big moment. It's a chance for an SEC championship. And around our place, they put numbers up, in the banners in the hallways for when you win SEC championships, and that's significant to me. These kids, these players, they want an opportunity to win this conference. They mostly grew up around this conference, and they know how hard it is to achieve an SEC championship. So we want to be at our best, and we got a elite opponent to go against to do it.
Well, it's like I said earlier this week, the SEC championship matters. It's important. It means that you are the best team and the best conference in college football. That is legacy kind of stuff. That's history making. And you don't get to do it every week. You don't get to roll your helmet out there and say, yeah, guess what? We're the champions because our helmet rolled out further. That's not how it works. And when you see those numbers on the wall, those numbers are there forever. This is a jewelry game. This is a trophy game. This is why you play. And you want the best opponents you can have on the other side. And in this game on Saturday, in this SEC championship game, which will determine the crown of the premier conference in the game, you have two opponents, both elite, both ready to play for it, and only one of them's going to win. And that is why we're going to watch. Go Dogs!
Told them, how about them fucking dogs? That's what I told them.